Dr. Layli Maparyan has been appointed the Katherine Stone Kaufmann 67 Executive Director of the Wellesley Centers for Women at Wellesley College. She will assume her new post on July 1st, 2012.
The thing that really excited me about the executive directorship of the Wellesley Centers for Women is the Research and Action mission. I love the idea of using scholarship and research to advance the issues of women and girls in larger contexts. And the centers already had evolved a prominent national and indeed international reputation for doing this work. So it was incredibly exciting to imagine being associated with the centers and contributing to the way that that work is done. And I also have a real appreciation for the way the centers have both a national and an international focus and look at women's and girls' issues in context. So taken with all those things, it was just a very exciting opportunity. I think that one of the most important things about the Wellesley Centers for Women is the reputation for rigorous research. It's important when doing the kind of research that can actually have real policy impact and shape effective programming that the research itself be sound. And I think that the researchers of the Wellesley Centers for Women are some of the most highly trained and innovative researchers working on women's issues today. So that's an important legacy. I also think it's really important the way that the centers have evolved as a place that brings social science research together with critical theory, such as that comes from women's studies and other forms of critical disciplines, and then in turn brings those things into integration with civic engagement. It's just a very holistic kind of environment. It's one that really brings different kinds of strands together, all for the purpose of having impact and not just influencing women and girls, but also their families and communities. So I think that that is really an important legacy. Another piece that I find tremendously important is the fact that historically the centers have placed emphasis on the importance of emotional and social well-being in the creation of justice in the world. I can't think of many other places that put those two things in the same sentence, and that's one of the things that excites me tremendously about the centers. I also really like its attention to diversity issues, its global outreach, and the way that it's really trying to bring women and girls and their communities around the world together. Well, I think first and foremost, my job is to continue the legacy of excellence that the centers has already established. It makes me think, are there some new higher heights that we can go to, but I'm already working with an amazing and well-known foundation. In addition to that, I think that I have some hopes about discovering new areas of importance that relate to women's and girls' lives. Based on the times when the centers were founded, we were in a particular moment in women's and girls' history, both nationally and internationally, when some really important insights were being gathered, and in fact, some of the research that the centers have been involved in is the very research that changed and shifted the way that girls and women's issues were dealt with, particularly in the United States. But as we know, with those social movements, there have been ups and downs. There have been times of success and times of retrenchment. And there have been certain kinds of problems that have taken new forms. And so I think that it's really important that at this point in time, the centers take a new look at the landscape and figure out what are some things that we can build upon to look at the issues and problems facing women and girls in new ways, and also look at the connections between what women are experiencing internationally and what women are experiencing in the United States. In this increasingly globalized world, those things are increasingly and importantly interconnected, and so without looking at the connections, we're limited in our problem solving. So I think that the centers is very well poised, both based on the researchers who are working there and other sorts of parties that are involved with it, to make incredible kinds of connections, do new research, continue ongoing threads of research, and continue to make impact. The thing that's most important to me is simply making real impact. I like to know that the people that we are serving as a research institute are actually feeling the changes in their lives. Of course, we have a responsibility to change institutions and social systems, but those changes in institutions and social systems have to be felt down to the ground level. And I think that one of the things that we as women can really capitalize on is the fact that there's so much similarities in our experience regardless of where we fall on the social spectrum. And I think that one of the things that the centers is extremely good at is as making connections in areas that affect all women. For example, education. All women have to get an education, and the ways in which women interface with educational systems are similar across the board. And so it's important to me to continue to work on things that have an impact that's measurable, that's felt, that really makes a difference that people can feel. My own scholarship for a long time has been in the area of womanism. And womanism is a perspective that really looks at how everyday women can be problem solvers and how the wisdom that everyday women gain from daily life contributes to making the world a better place. And I think that the centers have a similar kind of mission. It goes back to research and action. So I feel like there's a natural fit between my scholarly orientation, my personal orientation, and what the centers are already about. So I'm extremely excited about being involved and about just taking things to the next level and helping things to become what they can be.